You do have your retainers in today. I can see it. Or hear it.
Did you hear that?
Yep. Okay, let's see.
If being able to tie a cherry stem in a knot with your tongue makes you a good kisser, then what does it mean when you can do this?
Wow.
Whoa!
Do lots of other things to other body parts? I don't know. Your face.
Well, you just sent me down a whole lot of rabbit holes I was not ready to go down into. Welcome to the True North podcast, where two practicing light workers get together every week to continue an ongoing conversation about wholeness and healing for body and mind so you can live as your true self and follow your true north. I'm taking my retainers out.
And I'm Abby. Oh my goodness.
I can't do the bottom one with my tongue. I can only do the top one. This is going to be in the thing.
Oh, wow.
That's
okay.
what she said.
That's one of those topics that we need to probably eventually talk about one of these
Retainers?
days. No. Sex.
Oh, we really should. It'll be called Abby and Ryan Make Everything Awkward for Everyone.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think we're just going to have to let that one happen organically.
Yep. I'm with you on that. So what's going on in your world?
Well, I am choosing to be grateful for my ADHD today.
Oh, right. We're starting with gratitudes.
Yes, we
Thank you
are.
for reminding me.
Cool.
Okay, but tell me more. Grateful for your ADHD.
Well, I'm choosing to be grateful because I'm not grateful for my ADHD. So I'm trying to meet it with intentional gratitude so that I have no room to meet it with anything else.
Okay.
Today.
So tell me then, what is about it that you are choosing to be grateful for?
My ADHD is a wellspring of opportunities for me to learn how to manage my life better. Like, here's what my situation looks like in general right now. Now I'm getting overloaded with like where to start, which is, that's what it means to have. I'm unmedicated right now because I have some ADHD medication, but I don't have a job. And so when you're not employed, your insurance options are either pay through the nose or don't have any. And then when you choose don't have any, your options for ADHD medication are pay through the nose or don't have any. And so I'm like still riding off of the dose that I got in January when I was able to, but this particular medication also has some serotonin in it, so I'm feeling great for the 12 hours that it works, but the come down is brutal. And so you can't just like take it on a day that you need it. You have to like kind of get it into your system and have it going for a while, and then the bottle's empty, and then what do you do? So I'm not using my ADHD medicine right now. And so unmedicated ADHD for me looks like you have your life and you got your stuff to do. Like I am for all intents and purposes jobless, and my wife not only has a full-time job but is like also going through a master's program, so there's a lot of like just daily maintenance house stuff that falls on me, rightfully so. And then I've got the True North stuff, and I've got some freelance stuff, and I've got my me stuff and yoga and meditation, so I have like stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so for me to manage the stuff is its own job. And I find myself needing to manage the way that I manage the stuff. So I have to-do lists every night. I have this little exercise I do where I look at what I'm going to do the next day, what's on the calendar, what time blocks do I have, and then what do I have to do, what will fit into the day, prioritize it, number one, number two, the whole thing, categorize so that I can wake up the next day and that's already decided for me. Otherwise, I'll get analysis paralysis and I won't do anything with the whole day.
Analysis paralysis.
You're constantly doing
I don't want that to let
favors
that go by.
that's not. I didn't make that up, but
no,
it
but that's
yes. So then I have to constantly be doing favors to future me, so that future me doesn't just freeze and get overwhelmed. Because I get overwhelmed really, really, really easily because my brain wants everything to be the very top priority. And then when I can't figure out what to do, I just procrastinate on all of it. And for me, procrastination isn't avoiding doing the task; it's fatigue from having done it 1,000 times in my head already.
Yeah.
And so then when I'm doing a thing, I feel guilt about the other things I'm not doing, even though I prioritize them. I don't believe it. I don't buy into it because number 2 should be number 1, or these things may not get done, and then that panic becomes the priority, and then so then I find myself jumping around if I don't stay focused. But then I have to be the parent that follows me around and keeps me on task. Mm-hmm. So the very act of constantly having to intentionally breathe down my own neck about doing stuff takes up so much mental and emotional energy that there's very little left to actually do the thing that I'm breathing down my own neck about. And then not to mention all the secondary emotions that pile on top of that, where I then start judging myself for having to do all of this work just to be able to sustain a life where I do the things. And so all of that is stuff I have to get through before I actually get to do the things on my list. So I get to a point where I'm ready to do a thing like clean the bathroom, and I'm already exhausted, and somehow 2 hours have just disappeared out of my day. Gone. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to clean the bathroom. And so I clean the bathroom. Oh, that wasn't so bad. A little tiny victory. And then there's a part of me that's like, I owe myself a reward. 12 hours of chess games on my phone or whatever. So then I'm fighting that little thing that's like, take a load off. You did something great. And then it's like, well, there's all these other things to do. And then all the weight and the overwhelm and it just all starts over again. And that's just what it's like to be me right now. And I can tell that I feel very strongly about this because I'm already like choking back tears thinking about it, because it's just, and then there's like the frustration that envelops all of that around the fact that that's just all my life right now, And so on days like today where the ADHD is through the roof, I carry anger with me when I do the things. And so I have to choose to be grateful for it, or else I will feel other things about it.
Okay, so anger, as we've talked about, is really just a mask for something else. Can you identify what it might be?
I feel like, well, there's a little bit of just panic. There's like a fear that my to-do list will not be different at the end of the day as it is in the beginning of the day.
So what are you making that mean?
Well,
if it is the same.
I just feel like I wasted a day. Or sometimes it means I didn't stick to my word. Like if I commit to something. Like I have a freelance thing and I tell someone I'll get a thing done by the end of the day, and then the day goes by and the thing didn't get done. Well, now I'm doing recovery work, and sometimes that's renegotiating deadlines or having to own up to the fact that I didn't do it when I said I was going to do it, and I don't like that.
And then that adds to your to-do list.
There's to-do list, and then there's also the guilt, which very easily then turns into shame. And so I try to and so when I get to the end of the day and it didn't go as planned, then there's all this like brace for impact, because here comes the negative self-talk. And then by the end of the day, I'm so exhausted, I don't have any resources left to fight it. So then it's like, can I just get to sleep before that sets in? But then you wake up and you have these dreams that remind you of what's going on in there, And so it's just that's what I know I have in store for me if I don't keep the ball rolling.
And so your gratitude is, as you said, opportunities to grow.
Well, my ADHD is because I have to. I have to do my to-do list every night. I have to have a routine. I have to schedule things. Like I have like.
Do you have to, or are those just the tools you use to be a person that's living with ADHD?
Yes, those are tools that I've learned how to use to be a person who's living with ADHD. Wednesdays are bathroom cleaning days because I want the bathrooms to be cleaned, and if I don't have a day to do it, then I'm just gonna sit around thinking today needs to be that day. And every single day that goes by that bathrooms don't get cleaned, the cycle continues. So if I know that it's gonna happen on Wednesday, then I can like calm down about it, and that's not on my list unless it's Wednesday. And then Wednesday, that's my bathroom day, so then I just can get it out of the way. And here we are on Thursday, and I cleaned the bathrooms today because I didn't do it yesterday, and so all morning I was panicking about the fact that I missed my bathroom clean. So that doesn't even really work it's not a silver bullet, but it does help knowing that Wednesday is bathroom cleaning day, and I have floors day, and I have hair cleaning day, and I have all these days. Like I schedule out all the things, I put them on the calendar, I write them down to like offload the emotional labor of this needs to get done right now. And so that's a tool that I've learned how to use with the ADHD. I have routines. There are things that I'll systematize and I'll turn into a habit. So like when I get back from dropping my kid off at daycare, there's a whole routine that takes like an hour, but it's just like taking care of daily business and getting it out of the way. And that is so habitualized now that I don't even think about it. And that's good, because when I didn't have that, I was kind of chasing those to-dos all around the day. And that's a tool that I've learned I have to use. So I've developed tools I've had to use to learn how to function as an unmedicated ADHD adult human. And those tools are good. Those tools are what helps me, be a human that does stuff. So, and if I didn't have ADHD, then it wouldn't have necessitated me learning and using those things.
In what positive way does ADHD, like, who does it make you in a positive way?
Who does it make me?
Yeah.
Like, contrast who I am against who I imagine I would be if I didn't have it?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, you are a person that has ADHD. Okay. So what good comes out of that? Who does it make you to be that person?
I feel like I know what you're asking, and I don't even know that I have an answer. It's like asking a fish who they would be without water. Like, it's all I know. That's all I know.
So I'm like over here, red flag. Let's dig deeper into that. So
I also have hurt there because I don't like that it's called ADHD, because I don't like the D. I don't like either of the Ds.
Right.
It's not a deficit of attention. If anything, it's a surplus. You're paying attention to literally everything all the time. And it's not a disorder. I feel like that was named by somebody who didn't have it.
Well, it comes out of our desire to label everything.
It's a trait that you either have or don't have, and I think more people have it more on a spectrum than a yes or no
I
thing,
agree.
right? But it's labeled a disorder because when kids have it, it makes them not function in a classroom the way that the teacher and the system want them to. So it's a disorder.
That's the problem with our system. Like, we've created this system where we're expecting kids to sit down multiple hours a day, not move, not say anything, not blink, literally pay attention and intake all this information all day long. And our kids are not homogenized in that way.
Right.
I mean, people are not that way. I mean, we do not take into consideration people as humans. We try to get them to fit into a box, and that's where we come up with these disorders. Yeah, exactly.
Right, and
we label
those
it
disorders
as
are named by the people who fit in the box. So of course they're going to have negative biases baked into the name.
And that's all I've heard you say.
Trait. AST.
Why does it have to be a thing? Why can't it just be you as more of a sensitive thinker, a more intentional, thoughtful thinker? And this is,
I think,
in a way, so maybe you can understand it, but as you said, it is negative. And like everything I've heard you say has been negative. And so me asking you, who does it make you, is I want you to try to flip your perspective and see how it's a gift for you and not a crutch, not something that keeps you from, and now he's swallowing Skittles.
I should not have started eating Skittles during recording a podcast. They're just so good, and they're right here, and there are 1,000 of them.
This feels like our tribe call on Tuesday when you were individually unwrapping every Starburst candy, like this little crackling right there in the microphone.
I got them all unwrapped. I can't stop dropping.
Anyway,
okay.
Back to this. So I mean, my point
God.
is like I want you to try to flip this, because in my view, ADHD is not a real thing. It is a label that I think is imposed on people that don't fit into somebody else's box. And so I just invite you to try to see who does it make you in a positive way.
I think at this point, I feel negatively towards it because I would prefer to not have to do all of that stuff just to function.
Sure.
And it is a little bit validating to hear that it has a name. Just because then you can, I know other people who also identify as humans who have ADHD, and then you can commiserate, and then that's valuable to feel like you're seen in that way. But I mean, it's just, it's a flavor of neurodivergence, right? And my question is, divergent from what? More people are quote unquote neurodivergent than who aren't these days because of all these labels that we make for them. And I think that's a good thing because it kind of normalizes the divergence. and in that way, it kind of neuters the whole concept behind being neurodivergent. It's neurodiverse is what we are.
Yes.
And in the same way that we're moving culturally from I don't see color to let's celebrate the differences in our color, I think giving it a name gives you something to celebrate. And I like that, and I appreciate that. I just also, right now, in this moment, it seems to make my life more difficult to live than perhaps I would like it to be, which feels really complaining as a straight white male who benefits from every single facet of our society. I'm finding something to complain about. What it just feels like.
So without it, you think your life would be easier? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I mean, when you put it that way, it just seems like a total grass is greener situation. And I think it would be easier in this way, but maybe there are other difficulties that I would be faced that I don't have line of sight into because I don't know any different. Mm-hmm. Just what flavor of difficulties would you like to have in your life?
I would consider myself to be a highly sensitive person. I got told all the time growing up that I wear my heart on my sleeve and I'm too sensitive and I cry too often. And now I have a son who is the exact same way. And they now have a label as well where they're called HSPs. Highly sensitive person. Right. Person. Yeah. And sometimes it's more so for him. He is more sensitive than I am, but it is debilitating. And I'm saying this because I can relate to that feeling of I wish I were not an HSP. But I have chosen to now use it as just, I guess, part of my toolbox, exactly like you've been doing. You found ways. Sure, it might be easier, but because I don't know that, and I will never know that, to be a person that isn't highly sensitive. Because what if I'm not highly sensitive? I probably wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing.
Right.
Because I'm not able to tap in as well, or I don't feel it, or I don't understand it in the same way.
Well, I mean, again, that's obviously named by somebody who's not an HSP. Because what if everybody was highly sensitive and some people were just numb to it? Then then those people would be called highly numb people.
Yeah, right.
Right? So it's an identifier that you're given, which, again, it's not intrinsically a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. But the language that we as a culture wrap around these things is loaded with either this is a problem, or this is something to be fixed, this is something to be corrected, this is something to be medicated, and the other side of that coin is that my ADHD medicine does help me function. It's not as much work for me to function when I do have that medication. That's true. And if I want to function, and I want to remove obstacles, and there's just so much to get through before actually getting to the part where you're actually functioning. And there are medications that help you get through that, and those medications were invented by people who saw this as a problem to be solved, right? So some good can come out of that perspective, I guess, but it just also, I don't know, I just feel like I'm complaining. Sometimes there just needs to be room for it to suck.
Yes, right. And there are those moments, and it's okay to give yourself grace for that, but I also I'm just curious how that serves you. How overthinking and thinking that detailed, how does that serve you? Because I can think of examples. Not something I do on purpose.
It's just something my brain does on its own because it's going a million miles a minute all the time because of the ADHD, the AST, the AST.
But you are also, so out of that, what I'm saying is I find you to be an incredibly deep introspective thinker. Like you will take a topic and you will go down the rabbit hole on that topic and you will get me to see different perspectives that I didn't even know were related because you just analyze that to the nth degree. Like I think that's your ADHD that's working in your favor.
Is certainly another effect you had that ADHD has on you. And like I just, one of our tribe members turned me on to this songwriting software. It's been around for a while. It's not new. I just didn't know it existed, and so I found it. And a couple nights over the past week, I've woken up from like in a cold sweat with a song on my head, in my heart, and I was like, "This has to get out." So I'd find an instrument or I'd find something. Did your light just go out?
Yes.
I didn't notice what happened. I just saw that it was different all of a sudden. But I was like, I would wake up with these little metal melodies in my mind. I had to get them out, so I'd record them like on my camera or something, or just me humming it. And so I poured them all into this software, and I was able to like make this really neat sounding little song out of it. And then I realized like 4 hours had gone by in what felt like 5 minutes. Like I was so in it. Right. And all of my cylinders were firing, but in this one direction.
So is that not a product of your ADHD?
I'm sure it is.
And now you have all this music. So let me ask you this. When you're medicated, and I'm not saying that medication is bad, but when you're medicated, are you able to get into those creative flow states?
As I understand it, what this medication does is it actually allows more blood flow to my brain because it takes mental resources for me to be the parent that keeps me on track. And sometimes, like I said, there's like not a lot left to actually do the thing once I'm on track. And so it kind of like gives my brain more resources to do both jobs and to focus on all the things that steal my attention, but it's not really stealing because it's less of a finite resource now. There's more attention to go around, right? So in a way, it kind of allows me to focus on one thing because when I want to focus on something else, that doesn't necessarily take my focus completely off of this one thing. It's like your brain can just do more, and it wants to do more. And that's the thing. Is like it wants to do all the things and it has limited capacity, so it has to pick and choose, and it sucks at prioritizing, right? So this kind of opens up the floodgates a little bit to say, hey, now you don't have to choose as much. You can just do what your brain is wanting to do, right? And so in that case, I think once I get really zoned in on something, when I'm medicated, it even enhances that hyperfocus. Because then I have more mental resources, and I'm also switching gears to where they're all pointed at this one thing. But instead of, a few hours going by, it's like 8 hours can go by in the blink of an eye. But that's just what this one does. Every ADHD medication is slightly different. And that's the thing. I don't think it fixes anything. I think it's just another... Like, it just makes it a little bit lighter of a load. You still have to lift the load and use the tools and do the things and manage yourself. It's not going to go away, but it's just... just takes a couple plates off the barbell, And I appreciate that. I just don't like feeling like garbage when I'm not taking it anymore. I don't like taking things that make me feel awful when I stop taking them.
So what tools do you use besides everything that you said, scheduling, whatnot, but what other tools? Like, do you do any like Wim Hof breathing or anything else to try to, when you're in that place of overwhelm, to kind of reset the nervous system and come back to the body and out of the mind?
I do, which is then also a double-edged sword, because then when I take time to not do the things, there's this nagging voice that's like, you should be doing the things. You should be. So then it's like, we got this basket of calm down toys for our kid for when he gets all worked up and needs some sensory things to just calm him down. But he likes those toys more than anything else, and so he wants to play with the calm down toys when he doesn't need to be calmed down. And so we tell him, no, those aren't your toys to play with right now. You have other toys to play with. But then he gets so worked up that he can't play with the calm down toys that then he needs to use the calm down toys to calm down. It's just like it's this self-perpetuating cycle where the more time I take away from what I feel like I should be doing, and there's that word should, the more I need the thing that I'm doing during the time away. The more I need to do breathing, the more I need to get back into sympathetic mode. And then the longer I take to do that, the greater the need is for me to do it even more. So then, it just, I do. It doesn't, I haven't found a way to use that in a way where it like lasts longer than a little while. Like, and even tell, like, I don't consider myself a stressful person. I'm usually pretty laid back, and oftentimes things that would normally stress people out don't get to me. But my wife asked me the other day if I was stressed, and I said, I don't feel stressed. I don't think I'm stressed. I wouldn't, if you would ask me how I am, stressed wouldn't be nowhere on the map for me, but my body's telling me that it is stressed. Like, I can feel tension. It's actively holding tension right here on my traps, where, like, all humans hold their stress. And I'm not breathing as deeply as I normally do. I feel like my body is in fight or flight. I feel like it's been there for a lot longer than I probably have ever realized. And also, there's all these symptoms of adrenal fatigue. I'm really tired. I'm going to bed early. I pulled out. Oh, a hologram?
Yeah.
Oh, what do you see?
Your adrenals are shot.
It feels like adrenal fatigue. It feels like I've been in this state for a lot longer than because I don't act stressed. I don't exude stress. I don't carry around a sense of urgency. I don't, it's not my demeanor. It's not my way of being. And so I kind of, like, if I were to step outside of myself and watch myself, I would think, oh, that guy's not stressed. But my body is doing what I know bodies to do when they are stressed. I've seen this countless times with all of my healing clients. And it's my adrenals are gone. They've done their thing and they have nothing left. And I can tell. Like, I'm needing a couple coffees to get through the day, and sometimes a nap, and sometimes sleeping in, and I just have really low energy unless I do something to get it up. Like, one day I was in a really, like, yesterday I was in a really good mood. I was in a great mood. I was, like, feeling just happy-go-lucky and kind of hyper and goofy and playful and everything. And I thought, this is how I used to be every day. This is my normal. There was a time that this was my normal. And now, somehow, I've managed to get to a point where me acting like this is noteworthy and feels uncharacteristically positive.
How long? How long has this happened?
I don't know. And that, it's kind of like the frog in the pot analogy, where, like, you put a frog in boiling water and it'll jump out, but you put a frog in room temperature water and bring up the temp, it'll boil itself. I don't know if that's true. I would tend to think that at some point every living creature has, like, a threshold for, oh, it's fucking hot in here. Like, it makes sense mathematically to some, like, because there's sensory adaptation, but at some point you're like, I'm gonna get the fuck out of this thing, right? But that's the analogy I grew up hearing, and it's kind of like that thing where I don't really know if I can trace it back to a start point. It was just like every day I was a little bit more stressed than the day before, and it wasn't noticeable, and then all of a sudden, bam! Now I'm carrying stress in my body. And I've even done ARC on myself. I pulled my own flow. It's been like 10 days. I haven't even done it. I haven't even done my own little thing that's designed to help my body tell me what it wants me to hear. I know.
Why?
I don't know. Other things just seem more important. Or just sitting there doing nothing is all I can muster up in a day. Like, it's just... I don't know. That's why on our tribe call 2 nights ago, we spent the entire time just laughing hysterically. That's why I said, this is what I needed. We didn't talk about it. Well, we did get into some good stuff near the end, but, like, most of it was just hilarity. And like, I don't know, I just needed that lightness. I don't know. That's really tricky for me. It's really hard because I think we're all feeling the effects of lack of contact.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's kind of what I'm speaking to. It's just the same stuff that we're all in that boat. We're all in that boat right now, whether you want to be or not. And I guess I thought I was more resilient to it, or maybe I was, but I just used up, like, my resilience. Maybe that's a finite resource too. And I'm finally at a point where just, like, all the things that have been getting to people all year are just getting to me.
So what I'm hearing you say, though, is you've dropped all your tools, you've dropped your practice. And so what's happening then is your brain is going back to what it does, which is all this negative bias. It's like you've stopped exercising, so all of a sudden you've lost muscle mass and gained weight and
emotionally atrophied.
Yes. And this is where it's an incredibly hard struggle, because that's the last thing that you want to do when you're in this place. I think everybody can understand that when you are in the place that you are in right now, nothing like I this summer when I was in my place, I knew meditation and my stillness practice would help me. I knew writing would help me, but I did not want to do it.
Yeah, you just don't. Someone posted a webcomic of a person being like, I'm mad about this. Another person holds up a file folder and goes, here's a solution. And the person starts burning it with a lighter. It's like, I don't want a solution. I want to be mad. I was like,
Yep.
I kind of feel like there's a part of me that's just like right there. Like I mean, Ian Cron talks about Enneagram 4s, and the phrase he uses, he says, we narcotize our pain. Like we can sit in some suffering.
Yep.
Like none other.
Because we like it.
Yes. Like this is weird. Like it's home base for me. It feels comfortable. And the good thing is that when you decide to be in suffering, you kind of release yourself of the obligation to do the work. Like the work is hard. It takes work to do the work. It takes work to muster up the amount of work you have to do the work. And so if you just decide that you're going to sit in it for a while, like you just, you kind of let yourself off the hook.
And I think I'm finally hearing that that's where you are right now, that you just need to sit in it for a while. Because I've tried walking you out a couple of times and you are not willing to go. You're fighting me.
I'm holding on to it.
Yeah. And so, yeah, sit in it. See what happens. See what comes out of it.
This is the gratitude journal I got from egocoaching.net for our month of gratitude. Yes. I don't actually have a tree, but I've been writing in the journal.
That's okay. It's more effective.
Everything that I've said I was grateful for so far, we are 5 days into it, was something that I hated. It's almost like I'm weaponizing gratitude to combat my demons. Like, I'm going to be so fucking grateful for you. You're not going to know what to do with yourself. And I've never done that. I've never been like, you think of like, what are you grateful for? You think of all the good things. I went straight to all the things I don't like about life. I'm like, I'm grateful for this, motherfucker. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. You're not going to win.
Are you, or are you saying that out of spite?
It's a little bit out of spite. It's almost like I'm not going to give it what it wants.
See, that's not the way to practice gratitude.
I know. That's why I said I'm weaponizing it. But I also like, my hope is that I just might trick myself into being grateful for it if I say it enough times.
Or why don't you just change it up and what if I'm grateful for my ADHD? Because maybe your brain won't listen if you actually just try to keep saying the opposite. Because this is, at first I was like, oh, I love that he's grateful for his ADHD, because then what you are recognizing a key component to gratitude, which is life is not always wonderful. Life is not always, just sunshine and roses. I mean, look at the year 2020. Good Lord, the list of negative things that have happened personally, as a community. The list is still growing, and we're almost at the end of the year. So gratitude really comes from like trying to flip, like what's positive out of this? Who does it make me? What lessons am I learning? Like that's finding that appreciation and that value. So at first that's what I thought you were doing, but now it sounds like
I am literally stewing in a vat of muck.
Okay,
and I'm carrying that vat around with me, and that is my defense against growth and positivity.
Yeah, no. Put the journal down. Put it down and just start asking yourself, what if?
Do you see why I'm binge eating candy right now?
Yes. And this is interesting because that sugar, wow, that sugar is feeding all that negative crap that's in your head. So there are 5 coping mechanisms we should all be using right now.
Yes. Go.
5 of them. The first one is movement. We should be moving our bodies. That doesn't mean you have to go out and, lift weights, ride your bike to the max, whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm literally talking about just go outside and walk down to the end of the street and back. Just do one small form of movement, whatever that looks like for you. Because number one, we're sitting in front of screens all the time, especially people that are working at home. You don't even have to get in your car anymore to drive somewhere. And we're just like that movement. We're not processing anything because we're literally letting it just sit there. We're letting it sit in our bodies. So number one, move. I don't care what that looks like for you. Walk around the block, be done, but move. The second one is socializing, which you've already touched upon. And I know that's incredibly difficult to do right now in this 2D type world we're living in, but it still can happen because think about our tribe call on Tuesday night. We were still virtual, but it was still a necessary component of something that you needed. We need gratitude. Gratitude is a coping mechanism when it's not used as spite. Thank you very much. But it is actually appreciating the value of those things in our life that, like, even if something is shitty like ADHD, there's still something beautiful that's going to come out of it. It's still making you the person that you are, that I love. And so finding the gratitude in that is loving it yourself. Then there's feeling the feelings, like actually recognizing that you feel shitty right now. And that's okay. That is okay to feel that way. You don't necessarily have to fix it, change it, know what to do with it, but just actually feeling that feeling. But the last one is nutrition, because sugar, refined sugar, fake sugar, processed foods feed all that mental crap that's going on in those stories that you're telling yourself right now. So of course you're eating sugar. You're addicted to your brain right now. You're addicted to all that negativity and it needs something to keep going. And so you're feeding it with sugar because that's what your brain is naturally starting to crave because that's where you are mentally. Yeah. So yeah, that makes total sense. Why you're eating sugar. The end.
All right. Well,
but I'm right there with you.
Are you?
Yep. I'm eating sugar. I'm eating gluten. All two horrible things that fatigue my adrenals, make my Hashimoto's go through the roof. Mm-hmm.
So where
make
does
my
that
mental
come
state
from?
go south. Where does my stuff come from?
Because you're usually really, really, really on top of your diet.
Yes, I am. But there's one thing in my life that I am ignoring right now because it's a little scary to go down that road. And it's something that I know I need to work on. You asked the other night to our tribe, like, are you really working on something or do you just say that you're working on something? And it's a really good question because so many times people say, oh, I'm working on that story. I'm working on, this relationship, but really are they,
right.
what are you doing? Well, I do the work. And for me, that looks like sitting in stillness. It's kind of trying on an idea, a concept, trying to look at it in different ways. And I do that through writing. I'll kind of write it all out and, I'll write it from the perspective of the other person if it's a relationship issue, and then try to figure out what my triggers are. But for me, it's a lot of journal reflection time. And then I kind of leave it for a while and I let it steep like a bag of tea. And then I come back to it or somebody will say something. It's like once I've put it out there, all of a sudden I start paying attention for the signs that give me a clue of what I might be missing or the lesson that it's supposed to teach me or whatever the case may be. So there is something right now in my world that I would like to work on, that if there's going to be a change and it needs to be worked on. I don't want to say should, but it's at a point where it's I need to light it on fire. And I'm a little afraid to light it on fire. So I'm stuffing it. And when I stuff it, something that I don't really want to deal with, I do, but I don't because I'm a little scared. I eat sugar and gluten, bread. I freaking love bread.
bread. My
Donuts.
toddler said that his favorite food was bread the other day. Just any kind of bread. And we have a loaf of bread, and there's nothing special about it. It's just bread, and he wants to take the whole loaf and just eat off of it like a corn on the cob. Like I tore off a piece for him, and he got mad. He wanted it to be part of the bread so he could have the whole bread. I think, if I know you like I think I do, I think I know what you're talking about.
You do.
And I'm in the exact same boat, just to ramp up the crypticness. But that is coming through in my dreams. There are certain things I have had in my dreams every single night for the past at least week, the exact same story elements, and I know what they mean. And it's like there's this looming thing that's like, you're gonna have to look at me at some point.
Yep.
And I'm kind of with you. Like maybe that's the thing that's actually causing the stress. That's causing the adrenal fatigue. That's causing me to not want to use my tools, because I know that if I use my fucking tools and I get to a place of health and wholeness, I have to deal with it, and I have to face it, and that's gonna it's gonna require some action on my part that I am so afraid to take.
Yep. Bingo.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. It's like when you're on the freeway going somewhere you've never been before, and you know that your exit's coming up, but all you can do is just look for the signs and hope you don't miss it. There's that, like, you have this apprehension until you're on the off ramp, and I think that's what it is. It's just like, I'm in uncharted territory. I'm going somewhere that I don't know that I've ever gone before, and I kind of think I know what signs to look for, but I could be wrong. And what if I miss it because I'm busy being distracted, with something else? And so it's like being told to keep your eye on the ball, but also the ball's invisible. Yeah. Or like it's like an impressionist, fuzzy looking, maybe that's the ball. And that creates all kinds of stress in me. It really does. I'll just admit that. Like it creates, I get very stressed about that. And yeah.
I find that here we are in the same place again, and I didn't want to discredit your feelings and your story, so I didn't say anything earlier, but all of my biomarkers when I get my blood work done says that I am stressed out to the max. My adrenal system is just, it's shot. And my doctor keeps asking me what I'm so stressed out about. I'm like, I am not stressed. I am not stressed. I have no stress in my life. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, all of my biomarkers say that I am in constant fight or flight. But I know exactly what it is. I know exactly what it is. But yes, it's the one thing that I don't feel that I'm ready to deal with. And so I've started using my son. And for those that aren't parents, I will try to think of something else that you could use to make this work for you. But with my son being an HSP, but kids in general are just incredibly sensitive.
I see what you're saying.
They pick up on everything. And so if I have this underlying stress that is physically depleting me and I'm not addressing it, what energetic message am I giving him? What is he picking up from me? What is he learning from me? And I am not okay with him learning that he should just settle, learning that he shouldn't stand up for himself, that he shouldn't speak his truth and say how he really feels, or that his feelings are not validated and he should just stuff them. And it's when I can use him and say all the things that I need to say to myself, I get really fired up about it because I don't want that for him. And that motivates me in a way, because if I can say I'm doing it for him, then it's a lot easier to kind of take a step forward, because I will do anything for him. Anything. I will walk through fire for him. I will light things up just for him, in order for him to be the best version of himself, not for me to make things easier for him or better for him, because I don't want to do either of those things. He needs that struggle to know the other side, but I want to teach him what to do with that struggle.
Yes.
So that he does get to the other side. And anyway, so maybe that's my gratitude today. I've just been thinking about him a lot lately. And I've had this example in my life recently of someone that I knew that I know, where they worried about their kids. And let's see, how do I say it? They made a move, and now the kids are actually better.
A move that they were afraid would make their lives worse.
Yeah, but it's a move that's more in line with my friend, that this person is more their true north self. And they did the hard thing. They kind of blew up their life, and now their kids are better for it.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how that always works out? Like, I remember like a year ago, I opened up to some close friends about some discontentments that nobody knew that I had about my life. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't doing anything about it. And so no one had any reason to know. Mm-hmm. And then I went all the way from just being complicit in something I didn't even want to admit to myself I was discontent with, all the way to like railing against everything. Every battle was a battle I chose. Every hill was the hill I was going to die on. And I had a friend being like, she just told me like, I just, it seems like you're just ready to burn it all down. Mm-hmm. And she said that like it was a bad thing. And then you listen to people like John Amaral who like come on our show and they talk about doing a session with somebody, and he helps bring them back into wholeness and coherence. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, she leaves her fiance and moves out of the country. Mm-hmm. You could say she burned it all down.
Absolutely.
Or you could say she started building the life she actually wanted to live. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you and I are kind of building a futures for ourselves that maybe the lives that we know now aren't made to sustain. Mm-hmm. And so we're both operating through a fear of like, well, if I just yank the rug out from under everybody, then that's just a dick move. But we're all in this together. And and if you go back to what Kathleen was saying, our souls chose to do this in this group. Mm-hmm. And what I find is that when people do have the courage to be the one person to yank the rug for everybody, everyone lands on their feet. And when the dust settles, as long as you're actually trying to follow your true north, everyone kind of lands in a better place. You can't see that when it's happening, and you sure as hell can't see it before. Like, we're both in the before. I'm talking like someone who's been there, and I haven't. We're both like in the pre-game of some big decisions. But when I've seen other people walk through those fires, everybody comes out on the other side okay.
And people will let you know that they are not okay. They will scream and yell at you if they do not like what you're doing. But the beauty of it is, 9 times out of 10, I have seen those people also rise in a much better way than they would have had the rug not been pulled out. Right. They just didn't get to do it on their terms necessarily, but that doesn't mean it didn't work out for them as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, my dad died, and that was a rug yank for all of us. He didn't go do it on purpose. It wasn't, it was not something he planned or did intentionally, but we are all faced with this loss. We were faced with the fact that our whole life was going to be different now, irrevocably, against our will. And we went through all the stages that you go through. But then a lot of the places that we've landed now, I think are better. And we wouldn't have landed there had that not happened. And it's really, really, really tough to square away the idea that some of the most beautiful things in your life are a direct result of some of the most tragic. It's hard to allow yourself to be happy about those. But, I mean, that's all part of it. right? And think about everything that you've been through so far and how it's turned you into who you are, and how you wouldn't trade who you are for the world. Well, so it is with everybody else in your life. So it is when the rug gets yanked. If you don't, someone else will. We're all here to grow. We're all here to learn these lessons. And I think the question that we're both faced with is, do we have the courage to put everybody in a position where they have to learn them?
But that's not our business. Our business is to pull the rug when we're ready to pull the rug.
Yeah.
And then trust in the universe that the people that are standing on that rug that it's going to affect will learn the lessons they need to learn out of it as well. But I can't control whether they do or whether they don't.
And that's why
that's
needs
the courage. Yeah, that's the courage you have to take, because clearly if I'm pulling out the rug, then something is not serving me. And if something is not serving me, then it certainly isn't serving you, because I am not in my highest good. And the reason why I like the burn down analogy versus just rebuilding is because Tony says this a lot, that in order to make room for change, you have to move something out of the way. And then when you move something out of the way, you then have to rebuild it with something intentional that you want to be there, or that ugliness will grow right back. Like we have a tree out front. It's just this nasty, I call it like a trash tree, and we cut it down, but we didn't take out the root system or anything. Well, now it's regrowing because I haven't filled it with something else. I haven't taken out that root and put grass there, new tree, or whatever the case may be. And so sometimes it does require a burning down, because if you just leave it and you go somewhere else, it's still there and it can still grow and sort of outweigh this other thing that you're trying to grow that serves you more. It's like, this is exactly what happened with the prairies, right? We stopped the wildfires in the prairies. The buffalo, we killed all the buffalo. So they stopped eating tree saplings. The fire stopped burning those kinds of seeds where the prairie could actually flourish. We took away those two things, and all of a sudden we have no more prairies. They're just cedar trees have completely taken over them. It's like the same concept. Like fire, sometimes you do just have to burn shit down, and it is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So I do like to say I want to burn it up.
Burn it up or burn it down. Just burn the shit
just
out
burn.
of it. Just burn it.
Burn, baby, burn. Yeah, so but it does take a lot of courage. But it goes back to something I'm reminded of that Glennon Doyle says, which is, you should never disappoint yourself. You should disappoint everybody else before you disappoint yourself.
Yeah. And it's okay if it takes a lot of work to get yourself to the point where you can do the work.
Yes.
Like that's what that's what I'm upset about with the ADHD. Just to bring it full circle, is I would prefer that it wouldn't take quite so much work just to get me to a place where I can do the work. It's pre-work, and sometimes the pre-work is more than the work itself. And I mean, it's the same thing here. Like, you're gonna burn your whole life down. You got to do the work. You have to figure some shit out, and make sure that you have the right reasons, and that you're, going about it the best way that you can. And that's okay. It's okay for the work to take work to do.
It goes back to what I said on the last episode, is you are exactly where you are supposed to be. So the fact that it's taking you this long, or that you are in a place where you just can't get back to it right now, you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Maybe you are supposed to just be sitting in it.
Well, see, that's the thing. I think that's the thing that I didn't really admit to myself before we started recording, is that I don't want to get out of it right now.
Like, then that's okay.
I don't want to. Man.
That's okay.
For now it is.
It is. But see, this is where, damn it. This is where like the tribe comes into play. Because I will let you sit there because I understand sitting in it. I need to sit in my own shit. But I will not let you stay there.
Oh.
There will be a point where it becomes self-deprecating and you're doing it out of spite, and I'll be like, all right, it's time to go. Let's go.
I love that so much about you, Abby.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're one of the few people in my life who, like, you could say exactly the opposite of what I want to hear, and I'll be like, yeah, she has a point. I should just listen to her. Like,
just listen to her.
Just listen to her. Like,
no, just try it on.
You don't like it, and the fact that you don't like it is very telling. So just listen to her. Like, you and a handful of other people are in that category of my life where you could just literally say anything, and I'll be like, I'm just gonna trust this. So.
But I want to say this too to anybody else that they're either in this place right now or they have somebody in their life that's in this place, is we also have this idea in our kind of Eastern culture that I have to in some way fix this for you. Or I have to make you feel better. It's like, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Like you're going to get back to it. And I am going to tell you right now, I am not that friend because that does not serve you.
Well, I appreciate that you're not that friend.
It sounds like you need to stay in it. So I'm going to tell you to stay exactly where you are.
Keep spitefully writing gratitudes in the journal.
Well, don't do that. No, stop using my gratitude against yourself. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good feedback. I didn't actually even realize that I was doing that until I looked at it today, and I was like, oh, this is an interesting little turn of events there. Good Sir Ryan Bayron. It feels weird to not end an episode in gratitudes. We should start it and end it with gratitudes.
I did. Yeah, I don't know that did I really clarify my gratitude? I would have to say that it is my son.
That it is.
Today that I never wanted to be a mother. And I never wanted to be a mother, not because I don't like children. I love children. I adore them. I love to play. It's exactly why I did what I did with the Y, is because they're little humans that just are so moldable, and I just want to mold them into good, kind souls that are going to just go change the world. But I didn't want to be a mother because for a very long time, I thought I would become my own mother. And then I didn't know how to not be what my mother was to me. But I have since learned in this journey of doing the work that my mother was exactly where she needed to be at the time. And she did the things she did because of where she was on her journey. And yes, that affected me, but it doesn't have to affect me now. And it doesn't have to be the person that I am. So I've done a lot of work, and genetically, yes, I do carry a lot of her tendencies and traits, but I now know how they trigger me and how they affect me and how that translates into my parenting. So when I decided to be a parent, it was not a light decision, because I then knew that that was a lot of work that I was going to have to do to be a good parent for him. And what that meant was doing the work on myself. It wasn't changing how I parented him. It was changing myself. And so in a way, well, before I got pregnant, I went to see another spiritual psychic healer, and she said there is a soul. You will have a child. You will get pregnant. But he's waiting. And I'm like, I'm like, wow, okay. He's waiting. He's waiting for the right time. And I sort of just always blew that off. And I don't know if I've told this story before. I think I've mentioned it a little bit, but I think he was waiting. I think he was waiting until I was ready to deal with my baggage, until he was ready. I was really ready to kind of take a long, hard look in the mirror and see how I was showing up for myself. And I didn't like it. And so when I was ready to do that work, that's when I got pregnant. I didn't even have to do the work. It was just, I showed up to the tank. I didn't have to drink the water, but I showed up to the tank and set the intention that I was going to do that. And here he is. And so I truly feel he is my greatest gift that I ever could have received. is his little soul choosing my soul to learn the lessons he needs to learn in this lifetime. So
that is just beautiful.
Happy to be his mama.
I have heard so many people say they didn't want to have kids because they were afraid of becoming who their parents were. Like that's such a common thing.
It is, but I'm definitely here to tell you, you don't have to be.
Well, that's part of it. Is kids present you with a wellspring of opportunities to learn how to be your best self. Like even in our one of the very first things I wrote in our show notes, or show topics for this was the only way to parent well is to grow as an individual. Like people make decisions according to, I don't want to screw up my kid, but all you're modeling is how to base decisions off of your fears. If you taught your kid how to walk, but you yourself crawled everywhere, even if they learned how to walk, would they actually do it? So be your best self and you'll be your best parent. Be your best self and you'll be your best spouse. Be your best self and you'll be your best friend. And it's all like, how do I be a good XYZ? The answer to that is always be a good you first and foremost. And kids are the best way we can learn that.
Absolutely. Parenting has nothing to do with being a parent.
Right. Like the stakes are so high and things matter to you. Like, I mean, I don't know if that's the case with everybody, but certainly when I had a kid, things just started fucking mattering to me that didn't matter before. And man, you just have to figure out how to grow as a person. You don't have a choice.
And to circle it all back to everything we said today, sometimes that means pulling the rug out.
Yes.
And so we will leave it there.
Yes, we will. We will leave it there. You're grateful for I am going to turn it around though. I think I am in the last hour. I think I have grown some capacity to be genuinely grateful for my ADHD.
What?
And I'm not just saying that to make you happy because earlier you were complaining that your coaching wasn't working on me. But
no, it wasn't that it wasn't working. You're just not ready to hear it.
I know, and I don't think you were complaining.
And I'm meeting you where you are, and I'm taking a step back.
But you did. I'm again, one of the things that my mind does on repeat in the background all the time is just like rehash conversations that I've had, even if it's one that I'm still having. And it did occur to me that a lot of the things that I blame my ADHD for are also some, the other side of a coin that's a really good thing. Like a lot of the songs that I have now recorded or written or played or completed or whatever in the last couple of weeks, because there's been a lot of fucking music coming out of me lately, like a lot. There are like 3 people that I'm collaborating with on musical 3.5, one that I've almost started to, and so there's a lot of that happening. And those are the things that have been shoving the important stuff out of the way. when I don't have my to-do list at the end of the day, it looks the same as at the beginning of the day. I'm like, what did I do all day? Well, lately the answer's been music, and I've been distracted with something that has been bringing me joy. And so then the question is like, well, you distracted from what? How important is that thing? And so.
And what if something comes out of this music? Literally, what if you sell your songs? What if you produce them yourself? What if there's something that is going to come out of this? Right,
and it hasn't just been music. It's been other things that have filled my time that just seem like wasteful and distractions and escapism. And maybe there is some of that. Like it can be both. But that doesn't mean that they're intrinsically unwholesome in and of themselves. And
which hat are you wearing? Which story are you telling yourself? That's what it comes down to.
Right. And an individual's value is wrapped up in their productivity and output hat tells me that I am wrong for writing music instead of writing a script for a YouTube series. But that's just that one voice.
Yes.
And so going with the flow of my ADHD instead of fighting it has led me to some places I wouldn't have gone if I had just fought harder to manage it. Because I'm not fighting very hard to manage it, and it's just running rampant. But that has that's planted some seeds that wouldn't have gotten planted otherwise. It may grow into some things. So there you go. I think I can honestly say that I'm genuinely grateful for my ADHD, at least right now in this moment.
Take it. Take it.
Until next time, thank you for loving me. Thank you for being there.
Bye. We are grateful for you. Thank you for listening. And if you like what we're doing and you want more, then you can join our tribe to interact with other like-minded individuals. You can go through our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/True North Podcast 11.
Is it Podcast 11 or is it True North 11?
Oh, shit.
It's in our show notes. If you want more than that, you want some more hands-on healing stuff that we do, I do actual energy healing and body work, and Abby does life coaching and workshops. And you can find the URLs in our show notes when we figure out what they are.
And we are always trying to increase our reach and bring more people to find their true north. So we would really appreciate it if you could leave a review and rate it in whatever podcast platform you use.
Done. That's perfect. That was
What about
perfect.
the gratitude?
Oh, this one. Hang on. And one last thing. What are you grateful for? There. I said it. I said the thing.